One, that they can trap themselves in a complex world in Matrix and allow others to generally do that for them. Or two, they can create equilibrium and make themselves better as a species and know their rights and wrongs and why they came here and work together through other entities, through other planetary systems. Humans are given that substantial right, that knowledge to know right from wrong. It was given to them from the foundations of the very existence of life, except they don't know how to utilize it proper, and they need to take a step forward using the mind of what you were here for. Grow as a being, grow as a species, because substantially what you think you can make, anything you got in your mind can happen, can manifest into real life. It just takes the motivation to do it.
Everybody, welcome to episode 68. Blue, how are you doing?
Very well today, Mike.
Hey, what are we going to talk about today in 68?
We talked a little bit about it on the latest episode, but now we're going to get more in depth of what the actual net is and the Black Sun program. Negative alien agenda, NAA, to force the planet to serve another multiple species, the controller agenda. The Draconians agenda, a lot of the things that have been behind the scenes for several years, even ongoing into now, that people are noticing. Oh, well, part of the slave network.
Wow. I can't wait to get into it. Sounds like some interesting stuff once again. Hey, before we get started, though, please make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, all those fun words on wherever you get your stuff. And speaking of that, wherever you get your stuff, if we're not where you get your stuff, let us know and we'll try to get where you get your stuff. You can find us just about anywhere. We do respond on the socials, and check out the gear. We're not matching today, but that's okay. It gives you more stuff to look at here. If you want to be part of the cause, hit up the links in the comments there. You'll find where to pick up some merchandise. Blue, let's get right into 68.
Absolutely. The net, the prison planet. So we have multiple consciousness, service, and dealing with the ascension cycles, and also obtaining what's going on between the false light and the positive light of things. Now, to humans' awareness, they are pretty much controlled within a body servicing code. But their neural thought form patterns, as well as their consciousness, and as well as their DNA itself, can be recoordinated. And it can be controlled to an extent. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about the dimensional platforms of the planet and the extensions of the many other ultimated dimensions that go within it. We're talking about a system that ultimately had been controlled for many eons, and humans are not, or well not aware of what they really are and represent here as a species. Coordinated, this planet is one of the many other planets that have been in a prison colony. And with the Black Sun factions deciding to use the Earth as a prison planet, trapping and containing all undesirables. Because the humans' codes, the DNA structure themselves are much lower already. And they're easier to, unfortunately, maneuver around from other species, other corporations, even technologies. So when you're stuck in a system like this, the minority goes into the higher factions that set that control. And it goes in, there have been intergalactic wars, and these galactic wars have been going on for many generations. They do entail to this one as well as the Orion Wars. The Orion Wars started over territories in the constellations and fought over these territories. And they had cradled in the Battle of Lyra, the Lyran Wars. They had dealt with eventually in Momentum some of the Draconian wars as well, and the Orion Greys is including the Matrix. And the definitive mode that goes into this and the perplexity that runs into this planet, this current realm of existence, essentially it sets a major control. Because this planet is not free. It's like many of these other territories. They're ensnared by programmers. And the agendas that went in through this current plane of existence, because of the wars that existed similar to others, and it downsized those planets. We have created too much catastrophes. The Black Sun Draconian agenda, it runs on ancient roots of manipulation with the Draconian reptoids on Earth. They are masterminds of councils of the Nicaea, the Church of Rome, the K3 Ephesian Crusades, and the Human Holocaust. There are the Zeta, not the Zeta Reticuli, right, but the Zeta reptoids. There are Zeta reptoids of the Zethelium that treaties which military-industrial complex and human abduction had dealt with. There are also the type of Zetan Greys that are not good. The Zetan Reptoid Grey manipulators and the Draconians have created an alliance for the OWO transhuman objectives. Transhuman. Hint, hint. What the hell did we just recently go through? Some similar type of thing? You know, with manipulation of the DNA structure of the humans itself is one of the things to push their species downwards, to take away the DNA format that they have, to turn them into something else altogether. This is one of their agendas. And we're also targeting the Christos lines for extermination behind a global health mafia, pharma, vaccine. What is the Christos lines? Well, it's pretty much exterminating certain DNA structures that are very vital, very important to humans. It messes with the microcellular structure, the blood cells. It takes things away. You know, you're getting these vaccinations. You're getting dealing with pharmaceuticals themselves. It runs deeper. And it runs as a dominion that has a really big control over the way people are going through right now, when they could just be free of this. This is their agenda.
Wow.
There are some other things I'm going to explain, but you can go ahead and.
It's just crazy to me, because all I keep picturing for some reason is what one of our constant themes are throughout this show, throughout the years here, is always been a good versus evil battle. And it just appears to me, for some reason, and maybe it's my age, I was born in the mid-60s, mid to late 70s, I was a young lad, and that's when Star Wars came out. And it was a good versus evil. So we've talked about Hollywood being the precursor, or gently putting things out to be more commonly accepted. And you go flash forward to where we are now with, we're just combating with alien beings or beings from other places, you know, where we're having interactivity on the screen, and we're constantly still talking about this good versus evil agenda. And here we are with more specifics about this good versus evil agenda. It just, wow, it's crazy. It's a crazy world we're living in. And you can, as you peel back the layers, you see more stuff. And that's what we're going through in Washington right now, and that's what you're bringing out, these other things here about the Black Sun Draconian agenda. You know, we've talked about things like this, but I never really put it together that there could be one species or one set of peoples or one set of ideals just out to totally decimate the human race on several different platforms, on several different levels, by making you take in the arm, by releasing a virus, by the chemtrail things we've talked about. Any number of these things used to get us banned, kicked off, warned, threatened on social media. There has been some loosening up of that, I've noticed. Not 100%, it's still working, but What I'm trying to say is I can see the turn here. I can see the good coming around. I can see the sunlight here. And I'm not in fear that it's an oncoming freight train. I think there's a lot of positive things to look at here. I think we're winning this war. Is that safe to say?
Yes, and there's just a couple other things to this agenda. And this is stuff that slowly, like you said, it's weaning out. It's going away, and it should. We have the major light that has been pushed into the existence for mankind recently. And we have entities here that are at and finally are in the seat of power. So we go back to this negative Draconian agenda of the chemtrails, like you said, and geoengineering, terraforming for preferred race line. So they have bioengineered DNA chemicals, elements, and within the certain substructure they put into the chemtrails, goes downwards, it hits the molecular structure and the software of mankind. It can affect the way they think, the way they process. It could affect the molecular structure, meaning it could cause sicknesses, diseases, and it could also turn others into some type of entity that they shouldn't be. Now, there's also the parallel AI built on base 10 template, top of the chain in 10D Pluto Matrix. I'll explain about that in a minute. War, bloodlust, biological extermination, child, SRA, and Draconian, which they have been dealing with the human trafficking, all that stuff. Severe digression into violent depravity, some defected to Belial, Sun, Dragon Moth, Draco, Anunnaki, Necromatine, Zeta Draken, Tall Whites, Nordics, Mardic, American, and Satanic structures running through several races. What goes all further through the agendas, though, between the good and the bad that would serve human freedom and the one that doesn't, obviously we have the Draconian line and the mechanics that they run through in their dimensions. They don't, and also the hierarchy of the royal bloodlines that serve a multitude of the elites here and the programmers here in this world that control a lot of it. They run through some of these extraterrestrial lineage and have added DNA structure that would affect things more on a higher molecular level than others. Going back to this, though, for the positive outlets, those that serve the Emerald Order covenant uphold the cosmic sovereign law to sustaining and achieving human freedom and planetary liberation. This is where we are working towards now. And this, hopefully in 2025, pushes away completely, or at least most of this Draconian order, and brings this into effect for humans, for the species. They'll be liberated. They won't be bound by the consciousness of the certain net that mediates from the inner realms, between the inner realms and the tunnels itself outward. The circuitry codes and self-analytic gridding points that go through their neurons, the neural substandards would be better, and they'll be able to achieve much more.
Wow. That's crazy, because for the past couple of years, we've been talking about a lot of things, and this seems to be putting all the puzzle pieces together now, and it's making it easier to see. Before, I was watching 100 movies on 100 screens all at one time. Now I'm down to a couple screens, and all the pieces are starting to come together here. Is there anything I should be worried about? Is there anything I should be doing or not doing?
Well, just keeping your light and knowing right from wrong, and not pushing your own consciousness downwards or pushing the way you think towards a negative stance. It goes for anybody. Start thinking positive and don't do the things that you know that would cause harm. And for the Black Suns and the agenda as well, what I talked about with the 10D, it goes off into reverse their DNA, referred to from the genetic lineage, and of inciting warring aggression on universal timelines to reverse 10 DNA strand genetic code, running a reversal life current, which they use to iron gate to feed off. So what I'm saying is they have control in the Middle East, Iran, Iraq. They also control other areas that are capable to exist in three-dimensional consciousness while in their body, but they have access to 10 dimensions. And these type of entities are primarily from the Satanic class network. And they are and cooperate with the Luciferian families to control the planet and share the spoils of war. And there are two types. There are two SECTS. There are two types of runnings of the corporations of the main elites, the foundations of the royal line. Those that will do right for the planet and control it on a better wavelength, and those that will control it on a negative stance. And we got these royal bloodlines that want to create negative. They want to trap the planet more and more. We got to create an equilibrium and stop that control. Run through the proper royal lines. So that way everybody is at least having some type of stability here for this planet. And with these entities, they cannot cellularly transmute their body in and out of stargates easily, but they use humans to do that. So they're accessing limited levels of biological immortality through the vampirism that they are intaking and through the Earth's control.
You know, it's almost leads me to believe that we have a specific purpose or agenda in being here. Like you had said, we're all slaves. We're all, you know, we're a bunch of degenerates. We're the if you take that, what was one of those little Christmas claymation type stories from back in the day, where all the misfit toys are on that island. That's kind of what we are, but we're not just sitting here hanging out doing time. I feel like we have a purpose. Like, was our purpose to mine all the minerals, like gold, you know, gold and silver, all the metals and all the things that can make things powerful? Are we here to, what are we here for? Is this come into it? Is this our only thing that we're here for, is to defend ourselves?
Humans are here for one of two reasons. One, that they can trap themselves in a complex world in Matrix and allow others to generally do that for them. Or two, they can create equilibrium and make themselves better as a species and know their rights and wrongs and why they came here and work together through other entities, through other planetary systems. Humans are given that substantial right, that knowledge to know right from wrong. It was given to them from the foundations of the very existence of life, except they don't know how to utilize it proper, and they need to take a step forward using the mind of what you were here for. Grow as a being, grow as a species, because substantially what you think you can make, anything you got in your mind can happen, can manifest into real life. It just takes the motivation to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are we ready to move on to our next topic here?
Oh yes, the Grand Canyon, the Forbidden Zone, Kincaid's Cave. This gets interesting. We already know that dealing with ancient pyramids and Egyptian, Atlantean, and symbology points don't go into this country, right? They all go into Egypt. They all go into the eastern areas. But there are several areas out here, including underground, that are hidden from society, that actually ran in before the people came from off the lands. Even before the Native Americans here, there are ancient advanced civilizations that run into the Atlanteans, that run into Egypt, run through the hierarchy of humans that in the past have worked with other beings and even gained knowledge themselves. This entity, this person, Kincaid, when he had so-called discovered this place, floating down, he saw stairs on the cliff, a cave of colossal proportions inside, and found trove of artifacts with Egyptian characteristics. It gets interesting because with the Smithsonian, that I try to disengage from this and what he had found, saying supposedly it was a hoax. It's not there. But the people that try to go through that area, they locked it off since then. And then it proves even more what's going on. They deny the claims, they deny the conspiracy theories, but they hide it. They have a reason. There is something there. Usually, even with the Smithsonian, they do have underground places there. They have levels. that hold ancient artifacts. There are other museums similar. We'll get into that another time, that hold these things that people are well not aware of, including stuff through the Vatican. But it's fascinating. You know, what do we got going on here?
Yeah,
Where does this lead?
that is kind of suspicious. That okay, yes, okay, you got us. We found something there, but there's nothing to see here. Keep moving. You know, I kind of like to open that up. Maybe we can contact our boy Trump, and maybe that could be one of the things that he uncovers. As hey, if we're doing things like changing the name of oceans and stuff.
Go back to Trump, because there is something interesting with him and the underground stuff real quick. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm getting information off a friend. Might be very ancient bases and inner Arcturian bases that Donald Trump wants to have access to in Greenland.
Wow.
He's trying to access Greenland for certain reasons that may deal with Agartha, that may deal with ancient bases.
I'm excited.
Protective zones, people.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. Sorry, didn't mean to get you off topic there. No, it is curious. You know, hey, yeah, it's like Area 51. This is a new Area 51 type thing. Yeah, we got stuff going on here. Get out of here. You know, what? It's crazy.
Well, I mean, filled with rooms, this cave housed up to at least 50,000 people, and it was deep in the Grand Canyon. You do know that they have a lot of areas, most likely surrounding there, that are off limits. And there are several areas, I'm sure, in the western area, western Nevada, just along the desert scenarios that hold it too. They're off limits for a reason. People are seeing what they're seeing above the ground, but they don't understand what goes on underneath their feet.
I'm going to be going. I'm going to be making a trek to the Grand Canyon sometime here in the near future. I don't have it specifically planned. I just went to Yellowstone not long ago again for a revisit after 30, 40 years. But what I'm saying is maybe we could mark down a few of these places, and maybe I could try to target some of those as stops on my trip. I mean, why not? Why not get a tax write-off? No, I mean, why not explore? You know, why not try to find some of these things out on our own? You know, that'd be great.
Well, it's just, like I said, you found the bold carvings, giant statues resembling Buddha, believing there's ancient civilizations in the cave long ago. It's interesting, though, they didn't even find no signs of animal bones, no skins, and that the cave might have been a once thriving society. There are several foundations out there similar that kind of all been expected to be found. They find a hole in the side of a cliff or something. Oh, lo and behold, there's something else altogether in it. Clear evidence that this country itself has been linked up to the ancient civilizations of Atlantis. It's been linked up as well to Egypt. It's linked up to several other fundamental reasons, including Native American, I'm sure. And it goes into the Cheops pyramid. I do want to explain about this in the area of Arizona, Grand Canyon National Park. It's interesting because it isn't made like the ones in Egypt, but it's similar structure. The fundamentals that go in through this could hold something underneath. Tunnels, it can hold just very similar intact codes to what's going on. Mummies, ancient artifacts, and it could also run into other sub-inlet systems.
You know, it is
totally not to debunk this. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Totally not to debunk this is because the foundations of these pyramids, even if they weren't made, and they still could hold something underneath them. They could hold some type of even vital electromagnetical frequency drive too. There's categories of the certain geomagnetical push or pull servers that go through the ley lines across the planet, and they can affect things on a magnetical frequency drive. And we explained similar to this before, the effectiveness of that and what it can do, which ultimately could create some type of nexus portals because of the way the the magnetical lines are being distributed too.
Wow, it is crazy to think right here in our country. I mean, there's claim that in the northeast part of our country, that's where maybe the Nordics had come before Columbus even supposedly came here. There were native beings on this continent. We call them Native Americans or Indians here, and then the same type of relics, the same type of beings, the same type of whatever it is can be found all over the planet from thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago. That's kind of weird how that's happened. I don't know how you can see all this evidence and not think that there was something else happening, something else going on. And I'm glad you're bringing this to light here. Are we almost ready to move on to the SCP Foundation?
Yep. One more thing is
Okay.
understanding Egypt, Atlantis, all these other ancient civilizations. Obviously, they had help from the species. Remember the NK Gray race we talked about through Egypt platforms. They found mummified remains, KGB, certain things. Similar. They have a reason to be working with other advanced beings. And it's been running through timelines for several eons. Believe it or not, there's only 335 documented caves, by the way, inside the Grand Canyon, at least over 1,000 that haven't even been mapped, explored, or inventoried. Ravel that through your heads.
That sounds like an adventure waiting to happen. I'm sure it's very difficult. I'm sure there's no access, and I'm sure it's made to look like something other than what it is. Jeez, I'm excited to go now. I'm gonna have to put that in the fast lane here to get to the Grand Canyon area. This sounds exciting. All right, now are we ready to talk about the SCP Foundation?
SCP-616, the vessel and the gate. Oh, this is interesting. It's about a plane, a Boeing plane, prototype, constructed in 1936 to specifications similar to the Boeing 737, which went into service shortly afterwards. So, like, it's a replicated model. I don't know how it was made. We do know the reasons, they're not good ones. Alternative iterations, despite the multiple applications, most important features that are left: emergency door. This is the interesting part. The emergency door, which has been duped, SCP-6161. Standard emergency door. Although when it gets open, and it also has markings on it associated with satanic cults. So there's an encryption on it that affects the lineage of this type of marked aerodynamic speed. And think about magic in a way. I don't want to get too deep into that, but think about the way of manipulating the contracts of things. When this door opens, when it opens and ground leaves the outside aircraft expected, it's discouraged to the personal opening through the door. Reporter appears severe anxiety problems when grounded. But when it's in flight and it's open, it can create major problems for those in it and around it on the outside. It could lead to catastrophes. So it will autonomously open every 30 days and begin to close. And the event can be considered deactivation of the SCP-6161. And the speed closes is highly dependent on the altitude. So if there's an altitude and the speed, it does affect the range and the proximity of what it's going to do to other entities around it. And failure to properly time the event will lead to the catastrophe itself. and would ultimately affect all life forms within the radius, within an unknown radius. It could ultimately probably go for miles at a time if they do not corporally have a certain divine people help stabilize the motives of this.
Is there just one, or is there more than one? Do I need to be worried here?
Ultimately, there's just one, and they have to use a form of religion to or believe, because there are satanic markings that were descripted onto it to help start. You can still see me right with the light.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wow.
And they have to do a blessing upon the door. If they do not use a blessing upon it with a certain inscripts and do it on a certain timeline with the doors open, or I believe the flight, before the flight, and prove successful, they prove successful with it, it will not cause certain problems radiated around the substructure. So it's like this: you have to create a category of containing the element itself.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I don't have anything to worry about, right? It is contained, right?
Yes, it's contained by the corporation, but because it does anomalous effects, they have to monitor it. And they have to make sure that the people who put the blessings on this, that it's done on those certain timelines. And it's also, they also learned to be able to accomplish what they're having to maintain for it. There have been variables, though, that could cause major catastrophes, and it could affect the properties of the neural standards of a certain, let's just say the entities, if they had been killed upon impasse, it would affect them and would leave them on a memory code that is, like, how do I say this? In between, in the in between. And then there's a critical component to it that affects the variables all around, and it could ultimately kill off a lot of humans.
Hey, what's going on with this next one here? It sounds interesting. SCP-688.
Hole dwellers. It's an animate, apparently living entity that shares many gross morphological similarities with lamprey. However, it has bigger substantial size, and she respects as no sensory organs, no gills, and no cloacal openings. Much larger, and it could go over 200 centimeters in length. Now, I want you guys thinking about, you know how they did these movies and these snake creatures with the mouths with all these teeth, like our lamprey, and they're going up and eating these people. It's kind of similar to that, except these entities, they sit in one spot. And they're found in more varied habitat than we would consider an actual chestnut lamprey. But unlike them, they're an ambush predator. So rather than a parasite, they will lie in wait in a nesting area, conceal their body from the light, and anchor its mouth to an external opening. Anything that enters it will not be able to back off. They ingest anything that enters it, any biological matter or man-made, as long as there is no limited light exposure. So obviously that light exposure thing affects things in cylindrical biological matter. These entities have been known to be seen scattered across the wild, and they have nesting sites in various areas. Fissures in rocks, formations, burrows, hollow logs, drainage pipes, gutters, downspouts, garbage disposal, shoes, other articles of clothing inside the engine block. They have been discovered from various sizes of these symbiote points. Obviously, we have Foundation members, and if anyone has an occurrence, something similar happening, and they have to go and they have to take care of that and remove these entities from that area.
You know, the way you were talking about an ambush and the way they, can just anything that gets near its mouth area, I guess, it's ingested and that's it. Kind of reminds me of something underneath the ocean, like hiding in a reef or something, waiting for that opportunity for something to drive, to swim by. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Now, so what you're saying is this thing, if it's undetected, if I come across one, because there's more than one, right?
Well, yeah, they're scattered across the planet, but they're not like you're just going to come across them like any other regular animal. They'll be rare and they'll be out of sight. And I'm sure that they have maintained many of them already.
Wow. Wonder if this is a key to, missing people. Like maybe a hiker or something, goes missing, hey, yeah, I'll be back for dinner. And then they never see the person again, and it's real suspicious. There's, no remnants of anything. I wonder how much more we don't know about this. This is very interesting.
Well, I mean, you've got similar species out there that kind of look like they don't do the same thing, but, they're kind of really weird looking, and you wonder where the hell did they come from, out of this world?
Right?
You got to understand there's a lot more out there that's hidden from mankind that they're not aware of yet.
Wow.
For a good darn reason. You don't want to just start searching for things like that either.
Right. Wow. I love it when we talk about the SCP Foundation. It's some of my favorite stuff. And again, folks, it's just some people say it's real, some people say it's not. Look, I'm from the school of thought of hide things in plain sight. That's what they've been doing. That's what's happening. They tell you stuff right to your face. You just need to listen carefully. And what do we have to report from the Space Force and the Federation?
I have a few things. There's the plane for the DC crash, the airplane, the helicopter recently. According to Trump, someone in a black job. We got to understand, though, the more defining points of what really went on. We had a lot of people die from this. And the way it went out should have never gotten an accordance stream. This is one reason. One thing that did happen. It had an advanced tracking system turned off prior. So, and that was the helicopter that went into the actual plane. It collided with an American Airlines, killing at least 67 people. And they had turned off their advanced surveillance system prior to the 29th, which should have never have been made into effect. It was a training mission, so there was no compelling national security reason for the ADB or the ADSB to be turned off. One fishy reason for this, for people to understand, okay, there's something much deeper going on here. The pilot, from what I hear, she may have not, she's female, may have not been in the right motives. Maybe the definitive training didn't go right. But as far as I'm concerned, they should have never had that taken down. And there's, just like Donald has said, black ops reason, black job. Absolutely no reason whatsoever for them to have done this. And unless they had, or something went array with the entities.
Crazy stuff there. Wow.
Good thing though, first week of office, setting records, taking over at least 350 executive actions. So effective opening week, most effective, that's good. And hopefully a lot of them are going to help mankind, help make things better. One thing though that has been through certain government agencies had spent 10 million injecting animals with hormones and performing surgeries to mimic gender transitions through the last supposedly administration. And maybe even before then. Gets worse. They drug the animals to see how aroused they get, and it's tax dollars at work. What are they doing? Why we already know that transgenderism was bad, and fundamentally screwing around with the way the humans' genetics are should have never been set into place from the get-go. But doing it to animals behind the scenes before they deal with the humans, that's just perverted. They're your companions. They're your family. Animals are not meant to be treated like that, let alone doing that to do it for humans. Sickening. Hopefully all this will stop. One good thing is Elon Musk serving as a special government employee now. White House says so. And him with DOGE, cleaning out things, cleaning out certain governments and other things that are going on. And hopefully you make a good motive. You need to just get everything set firmly back in action again, set right for this world to be cleaned up, for it to heal.
Absolutely.
And including NASA, Sunita Williams speaking out as Trump tasks Elon Musk to bring back the stranded astronauts that have been sitting up in space for so many months, and no one's even seemed to have wanted to done anything to help them.
Sad.
Oh.
We just found $59 million got sent out in January to house illegal immigrants in New York City alone. And we can't help the people in North Carolina. We can't do things like you're talking about here. We can't help people that need to help, that deserve to help. So we're a much richer nation than people are aware of. And we covered a lot of these topics, including enslavement, including, go back and listen to it again. I'm going to have to, folks, listen to several times to make sure I catch everything. And that's the great thing about our shows. You can always go back and you can look up a topic and hit that little timestamp right next to it and bring you right to that topic on that show. So I hope you'll do like I do and constantly go back and revisit some of the past shows we've done to catch up, because there's a lot of information we disclose each episode, and I'm very glad we do it. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Blue. Hey, before we go, we do have to talk about our ET Mystical Creature of the Week.
Yeah, the Rock. Mystical reptilian beings from the Volpecula constellation. The Rock, originating from the planet Asba. Fascinating from alien race known for their aggressive nature and unique physiology. The small in stature, their presence and influence human mythology, particularly in legends surrounding jinns in the Middle East. They're a small alien humanoid creature standing about 4 feet tall, approximately 1.2 meters, with distinct reptiloid legs and a striking bluish skin tone. The most notable feature, though, is a set of tentacles protruding from the back of their heads. These tentacles serve as advanced sensory organs, enhancing their perception and interaction with their surroundings. Now, their behavior, though, they are a warrior culture, and they have a society structure around their clans. They're led by a powerful chieftain. Society places a high value on martial skill and strategic powers, and the Anunnaki undergo rigorous training from an early age. But these entities, though, they are affiliated with the Intergalactic Federation. But because of their last recording visit to Earth in 712 AD, to the receased expeditions due to health concerns, health issues that they have encountered. So despite their historical presence, they have since lost interest in Terra, Earth, focusing on their efforts and other pursuits within the Federation. So fundamentally, they're doing strategic choices to focus on other interplanetary systems and categorizing with it in the endeavors within the galaxies itself with the other species. So they're kind of like an in-between layer, but they can be aggressive. And they kind of be misunderstood for certain things because they can run through as an interdimensional being. That's why they have been notified in the Middle East, similar to Jinn itself. They run in unseen parallel dimensions because of their advancements. It has caused some misconceptions through that.
Wow. So, I know we said that these things don't come around much anymore. I mean, that's what I got from what you said. If I did see one of these guys, these may or may not be a good guy. Is that what I heard you say? He's kind of like in between?
I prefer to want to act around the mankind of the Terra, Because number one, I guess there's illnesses here they can't stand, and humankind, they have bigger motivation and technique than them. I wouldn't really interact. I would just leave it be, because these species, you won't see much of them. They're more set on the outer curricular scores of the dimensions, but there are species that may cooperate with some governments behind the scenes. There may be some of them that are just aggravated altogether. You just don't want to be around. They have similar to these that have the tentacles behind their backs are more gray in status code, though. I believe mixed symbionts reptoid gray of that, and they are more aggressive though, and they don't want to coordinate with certain analytic maintainment speeds upon those realms. They could possibly come from underground.
Wow. It's just crazy to think of all the things and all the possibilities and all the light you bring to all those things each show, Blue. I really appreciate it. Looks like just like that, we're out of time here. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remind you, hit us up on the socials. Remind you could send questions to Blue on the socials. Maybe we'll do another live question and answer session with Blue coming up here soon. And hey, make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, click on follow, all those fun keywords there, and get you some merch. Join the cause here. You'll find the links below there in the video. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening. Episode 68 in the books. Great job, Blue. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mike. You as well.